AITA for taking my parents' side. When my brother came out of the closet, my family has always been liberal and have not been shy about other people knowing it, like they would have the who they are voting for signs of the front porch. Everyone in the family is also fine with LGBT plus community and supports it. So my 16 meters brother, 19 meters, came out as gay today to the whole family. My parents smiled and said congratulations and we will always love you / support him. Then the whole thing was dropped and we moved on with our day. My brother has been angry that my parents didn't have a bigger reaction and has been giving them the cold shoulder. He came into my room and was ranting to me about it. He wanted me to go with him to confront my parents. That's when I said, dude, they don't care about who you like to bang. Their response was, fine, isn't this the end goal? For people to not care about people's sexual orientation and be treated the same? You know they support this. What kind of response did you want them? Jumping for joy? Tears? Being angry? Well, he called me an asshole and I wanted to know if I was. Even families who are liberal toward LGBTQ people as a concept can be surprisingly uncool when it's their family member coming out. Your brother probably spent a lot of time building that moment up in his mind and worrying about the outcome. And he probably hoped for a reaction commensurate with how emotional it was for him. That doesn't make him an asshole, but it doesn't make the rest of you assholes either for just being accepting and moving on. I feel like I can relate. I came out as bi to my mom, and I expected one of the two things. Either, I hate you, you're disgusting, or, I love you, you're still my son and the hugs and stuff. What happened was, yeah, I'm fine with it. I was kinda happy that my mom's okay with it, but also kinda disappointed there wasn't a bigger reaction. Maybe the pop culture media has made coming out into a very dramatic event. I can see your brother's prof, but he's just being petty now. Your parents support him. What else does he want? Edit. I gave the wrong judgment. It was a typo. Edit 2. Thanks for all the awards and these many upvotes. These are my first awards ever. I think it's that it is a huge revelation to you. This is you realizing who you are, defining something new and important about yourself, and you're excited and a little confused and a bit scared, and it's highly emotional because it's your life. But since everyone else is living outside of you, it's just congrats on that. Because they didn't have to do the emotional and mental labor to come to any conclusions, except that you are who you were yesterday and who you will be tomorrow. To them, you are the same. But to you, you are different and new, and you want them to see that. NTA. If we want to normalize one's preference, whatever that may be, then there's no need for bells and whistles. Just a loving acceptance, right? No need to shout from the rooftops what should be considered normal. Coming out is a big deal to your brother and something he probably agonized over for a long time. Your parents' reaction might have come across as it's not big deal, which could translate to we don't really care. You saying, dude, they don't really care. Probably not what he wants to hear reinforced. I can see how it could be hurtful to your brother. However, personally, your parents haven't done anything wrong. Good luck to all of you. NTA. I got pretty much the same reaction out of my parents. Came out as bi. Well, not even a congrats. Being gay, bi, or anything else should be normalized. He's throwing a fit because he wanted some big celebration when honestly he should be grateful he doesn't have to go through what some kids do. Reading this thread, I'm starting to think I should've made more of a fuss when my best friend came out as bi to me. We were chilling on the sofa at her house and she looked over to me and said, oh, MBBTW. And I was like, oh, okay, and went back to looking at my phone. Oops. Coming out is scary, and people build it up in their heads a lot. He's probably been agonizing over this, and now all that adrenaline has nowhere to go, and anger is the easiest outlet. Your and your parents' reaction was also great. Coming out shouldn't be a huge thing. It would be amazing if no one ever had to do it again. Maybe chat to your brother again and let him know what he did was super brave, and you know it would have been really intimidating, but that he is loved and accepted and supported. This was my figuring. Maybe he's agonized about it so long that he's just looking for some acknowledgement about how hard it may have been for him to come out. Maybe just a bit of extra understanding about how difficult it may have been for him to come to them with that info was all he was seeking. Maybe the brother isn't even sure what he wanted from the interaction. But also nah, he was probably psycheing himself up for either a painful or joyous moment. An emotional moment. Full of emotions himself. Full of adrenaline even perhaps. And that huge build-up of emotions ended in an anticlimax, and that is okay. However, all that emotional turmoil was for nothing, as it were. For him it was a huge deal, and then there was nothing. His emotions probably got the best of him there, ranting to you about your parents' reaction. So yeah, you are not the R, but neither is he or your parents, I think. It, unfortunately, takes courage to come out to your family, and I think he'd wanted those emotions, and that courage validated. There are too many people involved for me to be able to give one clear judgment, but it would probably be worth asking your brother what he wanted out of the experience. And if it applies, and assuming good faith on your brother's part, suggesting that instead of confronting your parents he go tell them that he's glad they were okay with his coming out, and that it wasn't a big deal for them, but that telling them was a big scary deal for him, and he really needs a hug and some extra reassurance that it's really okay. Sometimes the only way to get what you want is to ask for it. Doesn't make it less genuine. Now, it's great that your family is accepting, but our society isn't. It was probably difficult for your brother to figure this out and come out. A caring way to address what's happening would be to ask what he wanted to hear. Also, straight PPL don't get to decide what the goal is for LGBTQ+ folks. Some folks might have a goal of wanting it not to matter, but the fact is it does matter, and it is a stigmatized identity. It really does sound like your parents were trying to be supportive, but maybe it wasn't enough for him. Your brother can be sad or disappointed, and your parents can also be doing their best. These things can exist at once. When I came out to my parents, they just said, "We figured," and kinda quietly disapproved. It really hurt a lot to be told implicitly and explicitly that who I authentically am is wrong and bad. I get that your parents did a lot better, but it sounds like your brother wanted to process more. It's really hard to explain, especially to people who think they're being super accepting. It's still hard. I don't think your parents are tough for not knowing what your bro wanted/needed to hear. And I don't think your bro is tough for needing more support. It's great that your family is accepting, but that doesn't erase a lifetime of stigma. This is exactly the comment I was looking for. The end goal of wanting to end the fanfare of coming out is great, because it will mean an end to the stigma attached. This is not the case right now. Even in a family where it's 99% certain they will love and accept you no matter what, it's still a big deal in the grand scheme of the world at the moment. Seems like the brother needed something he didn't get, but also didn't verbalize. The parents couldn't have known this and reacted how they thought was best. Now, your parents' reaction was fine. It's good that they accept your brother and aren't openly homophobic. But I'm gay. I've had to do the whole coming out thing, and it's really scary. I think you have good intentions, but downplaying the situation when someone comes out as they don't care that you're gay isn't actually very helpful. You say the end goal isn't to care about sexual orientation. And again, I think you have good intentions, but that's not very helpful. In the world we live in, being gay is still seen to be different. To be different is to feel isolation and fear. You and your family are supportive, but your brother didn't know that would be the case for sure. Yeah, I'd be surprised to know how many families are liberal on the surface, but become nasty when one of their own turn out to be LGBTQ. Almost all gay people have heard these stories. We internalize these stories, and we know we can't take anyone's acceptance for granted until we know explicitly that we are loved and accepted. Okay, so coming out isn't worth a big celebration with bells and fireworks and cake. However, it can take a lot of energy and emotion to come out to someone, and receiving an "I don't care" or "it's not a big deal" response can be underwhelming and hurtful. It matters to your brother. It won't hurt to sit with him and say how you understand that it was a very brave action to come out and be explicitly clear that you accept he is gay and that you love and support him. Would it be offensive to ask people what kind of reaction they would like when they come out? Something along the lines of, "Okay, that's fine. Glad you were able to tell us. Would you like to celebrate or talk about anything? Or do you just want our acceptance?" I hear constantly about people building it up in their heads about coming out to friends and family. But I'm not sure if asking about what reaction they want, especially when telling people that they know are cool about it, would be more or less offensive. Nah, they probably knew it years ago. When my sister came out, she came home one day and I was napping on the couch. She woke me to tell me so that I wouldn't hear it from others. I said thanks for telling me in person, but I knew you were gay years ago. Rolled over and went back to sleep. My parents' reaction was very similar. He probably worked it up in his head for weeks and was caught off guard by how anticlimactic it was to everyone else. When my brother came out to me, I just said, yeah, I know. I've been waiting for you to know. You can still get STDs from bad sex. Use condoms. You going to tell dad? Dad is a fallen Catholic law. He said no. I said okay. That was it. He laughed. I laughed. We started talking about something else. A few months later I asked if my reaction was okay. Was I supposed to hug him or something? Him, who know? I'm glad you didn't make it into a big thing. NTA. He got what everyone is hoping for when they come out, which is acceptance and support. Given his reaction, however, it feels that he was looking for a party or parade. That simply makes him look like an attention seeker. It's like getting a birthday cake, but getting mad it wasn't as big as they expected it to be. Very true. When I read Op's post, my first impression is that the brother is expecting special treatment just because of his sexuality, when really, all family should be treated well. Maybe a bit over the top, but your post resonated with my impressions. Now, as someone who did come out and was stressed about it, your parents' reaction of approval and love is what should be normalized. Thanks to you and your parents for being that support system. I also get not wanting to make it a big deal, because being gay should be normal in society. But I totally get your brother's feeling, because no one is really acknowledging how hard this conversation actually was for him. It doesn't feel like you out your parents are understanding how much anxiety and pain he was holding in after taking off that huge burden of sharing that news to the people who love and raised you. A passing by I love you and always support you feels like a lackluster response. Now, my sister is about 14 years younger than me. She came out as bi in an Instagram post about how, if she had a girlfriend or boyfriend, she would do I don't remember what for them. It was the most toxic relationship advice I had ever seen. So I made sure to comment on it, saying how whatever she would do isn't optimal for a relationship. And I gave little 12-year-old her some advice on love. It was actually sweet what I wrote. She comments back, okay, but what about the first part? Then she complained to our mom that I didn't accept her coming out and must hate the LGBTQ+ community. Kid, since you were old enough to talk, anyone who said when you have a boyfriend, I always corrected them saying or girlfriend. Whatever makes you happy makes us happy. I'm sorry that she was disappointed. I'm sorry your brother is disappointed. But it's 2020. I don't believe coming out should be a thing. People have the right to love who they want and should need a stressful moment in their lives to tell their loved ones they aren't normal. They are normal, no matter your orientation. Yeah. Now, I'm surprised at how many straight people in this thread are boldly proclaiming what gay people think and what's best for them. Coming out is scary. No matter how supportive you think your family is, the way you and your family reacted wasn't wrong. But it also wasn't wrong of him to want a reaction that validates how strong his emotions were. Well, on the other hand, you could be surprised about how many gay people are proclaiming what gay people want, since all gay people are different people too. So what one of them wants isn't necessarily what others want. The fact is, only the brother knows what's best for him. We can only guess, based on his behavior described by his brother. And analyzing behavior and empathizing isn't something only gay or straight people can do. That's true. But the difference is that Op directly said that his brother was angry because the family didn't have a bigger reaction. Lots of, presumably, CI/straight people have commented saying that he should let it go and just be grateful that his parents are accepting. Maybe he shouldn't let his anger affect him and his relationships so much. But it's absolutely understandable that he would be angry, and I don't personally think it makes him an asshole. Maybe because there are a large amount of people who are straight are genuinely accepting and really don't mind what others do with their genitals. We do get told a lot though that we are not right to think certain ways and that we need to be accepting, so maybe that advice has trickled in. Now, I can definitely see both points of view, cause I've been there. When my best friend came out to me, I had the same non-reaction. I was like cool and moved on. Thankfully that's exactly what she'd hoped for. So all good there. Then I realized I was bi, and I was irrationally scared to come out. I knew my mom would be cool with it, and yet I was terrified. So I built up the whole thing as something huge, a life-changing moment that would define me forever for some reason. So I came out, and my mom's reaction was exactly the same I had to my best friend coming out. Okay, cool. And I was crushed. I had no reason to be. Rationally that was the best anyone could hoped for. And yet I was so disappointed that this moment that had been psycheing myself up for months turned out to be so anticlimactic. I don't blame my mom, but a part of me still wishes she'd had a bigger reaction, like the ones you see in the movies or something. At the same time, though, I'm not sure I would have been comfortable with making a big deal out of it. In any case, this isn't that bad. It's just a matter of miscommunication and unmet expectations. Just try to have a mature conversation about what kind of reaction he'd hoped to get and why your parents reacted the way they did. Try to find common ground and ensure you'll manage to sort this out. NTA. We still live in a world where folks are murdered for being LGBT. That makes all parts of coming out stressful. I can understand being disappointed that the experience was anticlimactic. It's a reasonable reaction to the immense stress build-up, but being mad about it is not reasonable. Now, obviously it was the best result he could have hoped for, but as a gay person coming out is a very big deal sometimes. It sounds like this was something he was struggling with for a while, so their nonchalant acceptance was anticlimactic. Now I think it's understandable why he would feel a little upset over your parents not reacting in a big way. But at the same time I agree with you that the whole point of normalizing people's sexual orientation is so that they are treated the same, and it is not seen as abnormal. I do think you could probably used a bit more tact in how you phrased your response, but I don't think you're the asshole. NTA. Coming out is scary, but once you know your family supports it's relieving, and that's a good enough feeling. What reaction did he expect? People who come out to their strict, conservative parents wish that their parents would behave as if it is a normal thing instead of being furious. He is lucky enough to have such parents, and he is not appreciating them. NTA. Has entitled to be disappointed that he didn't get the fanfare that he wanted, I guess. But your point is completely valid and justified. Sounds like your parents are pretty supportive. Now, unfortunately, as gay people, we have seen so many times in media that coming out is this momentous occasion that deserves a huge response. But that's antiquated and just not how it always goes. He may have been expecting a huge show of support, but your parents' reaction was completely reasonable and also shows how much growth the world has gone through in a short time. HMMNTA for taking this side, but look at it from your brother's path. Even if he grew up in a very liberal family, he must have been under a lot of stress. Still, he's probably been reading all about other comings outs and probably made up this entire narrative in his head. None of that is your or your parents' fault though, but ask him what he was expecting. For him, this has been the biggest day of his life up till now. Pairing all of that stress with an already hormonal teenager, yeah, it's bound to cause some trouble. Now, I understand somewhat where your brother comes from. I was never big with it myself either, but talking with other LGBTQ people, some of them felt so extremely apprehensive about coming out to their family that muted support was not enough. They were worried that there would be a catch later, that anything other than engaging with it enthusiastically and somewhat at length meant that they had basically been given an "okay, that's nice honey" where the other shoe would drop as soon as they expressed their sexuality in more than just words, e.g., bringing their partner home. That said, your parents' reaction so far sounded perfectly fine, and it is very understandable to be surprised that your brother would be unhappy with it. You were not an asshole about it at all, especially since it is hard to imagine what he would want you to confront them about. Maybe if you like, you can ask that question of him again. Make it clear that you take it seriously, that he feels that the reaction was not the one he wanted, but also find out why that is. Then you can help him either address those concerns or reassure him / bring him back down to reality with your parents together. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.